welcome to another episode of Get Connected AR live right here at BH Productions, Absolutely Arts. And so we're thankful for them hosting us as we continue to share with you about the resources, various different things going on in our community. And I'm excited for the guests that we have today from Women and Children First. And so welcome, ladies.
Good
Thank you.
morning. It's good to be here.
Good morning, Angie, Lakita. Glad that y'all are here. Let's talk about Women and Children's First and the history of the organization, where it started, why it started, all of those things there.
So it started originally in an old house on Battery Street. From there, we grew and grew and grew to our present location, which we've outgrown yet again. So we are actually in the works of building the Family Peace Center, which is the first of its kind in the state of Arkansas. We will go from housing 54 to 132 beds.
Okay.
We have 88 agency partners that are agreed to partner with us while we're in the Family Peace Center, which is incredible, especially for victims of domestic violence who have to go to 8 to 10 places minimum to be able to get the information that they need or the documents replaced.
Okay, so y'all are primarily serving individuals who have been through domestic violence situations or have some sensitive history kind of coming into some of those moments.
So we service domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, and stalking. And a victim is a victim. We don't disregard based on, on sex,
Okay. And so in your current state,
gender.
how is it that you're serving them? Is this housing? Is it services? What do those things kind of look like currently?
So right now we have a hotline process that a victim can call in on,
Okay.
and they'll be assessed. If they meet program criteria that the hotline has, then they come in for an intake. Then they'll sit down and they'll meet with a shelter navigator and be able to discuss what their immediate needs are, any things that they're needing to have replaced, and just kind of getting a full assessment of everything that they need in that moment as soon as they walk through the door.
Okay. So you're, like I say, you're really trying to help them get to a better foundation and solid kind of where they are.
Absolutely.
Where they are currently. In your particular role, what does that kind of look like?
So in my role, I'm specifically a sexual assault advocate.
Okay.
So I work primarily with victims of human trafficking, stalking, and sexual assault. I do help on the DV side because we're a team and we all have our days where we need to jump in and help others out. So we're pretty flexible in that manner, but whenever I'm working specifically in the sexual assault program, I'm meeting with guests and working on trauma and healing from child sexual abuse, teen sexual abuse, and adult sexual abuse.
What about you?
And so I am the transitional housing coordinator. So my specific role is to see each guest that comes into shelter and do what is we call a housing assessment. Basically kind of get to know about documentation maybe that they may need. We all know normally when the guests come into shelter, they're fleeing, so they leave behind some important documents: ID, identification, driver license, birth certificate, social security cards. Well, we know that most guests, when they come in, they prefer like housing options, and we know those important documents are needed. And so doing the assessment with them, I kind of find out what resources that they're needing, and financially we assist those with that. I also, because not everybody that calls that hotline wants to come into shelter, we do outreach too.
Okay.
And so sometimes they may just need help. Maybe they're facing eviction due to the domestic violence situation, or maybe financially the alleged abuser was the financial person over, and then that particular client has been at home with themselves or the children. So when funding is available, we assist with that as well. They may need resources about order of protections. We then provide them with our court advocate information to get them introduced to them so they can be able to obtain that order of protection as well.
So I'm glad you said that because the perception seems to be anyway for Women and Children First that you pretty much only service victims that are in the moment in need versus some of them that may have already been through the trauma, they're still coming out of the trauma, and they still have need of getting connected to some resources be it that they've come to you or not?
So the shelter program addresses the immediate danger.
Okay.
What we consider to be immediate danger is fleeing. If you've had a situation like with Lakita's program specifically that started with a domestic violence situation and you fled and you've kind of been to one shelter and now you've been to another shelter, we don't see that you are necessarily in immediate danger. Therefore, we start looking at longer term programs for homelessness, or they can transition to Lakita's transitional housing program for the outreach if they don't want to come into shelter.
And so what does that program look like for them kind of coming into some of those outreach?
So what it is that, again, I still do the assessment with them, because financially we kind of want to do budget. You know, some clients, when they do call, they're ready. They're scheduled. They have the money set back. They just maybe need a partnership with a landlord. And so that's where the community comes into play with me, building those reports with landlords and different agencies to say, hey, we may have somebody that has a broken lease, you know, due to the domestic violence situation, or maybe something on their background. They, you know, maybe they've been to prison here or there, you know, so we looking for second chance apartments that's felony friendly. Being connected again with the City of Little Rock reentry program, the Goodwill programs, you know, building those partnerships is what's important, because we know we don't have all the resources available. And so that's why we lean on to our other partnerships to kind of help us, so that way that resource could be provided to them, but we still play a part of it. You know, we don't just like, hey, here you go, and kind of push them off. They're more than welcome to always call, even after the fact, to obtain resources, food pantries, clothing, and things of that nature.
Okay, so you talked about some of the partners, and of course we know in nonprofit period, if you don't have partnership, it doesn't work.
Right.
And so kind of expound on some more of those partnerships that you kind of mentioned already that goes beyond City of Little Rock and all of that sort.
I was going to say, perfect example, Infinity Scrubs. They have partnered with our sexual assault program, and whenever they're able to, they donate scrubs that are brand new in sizes from a 2 extra small to a 5X.
Wow.
And I can utilize those scrubs for comfort care bags to be able to take to victims in the hospital. We also have those scrubs on site because sometimes one of our guests will get a job in need of scrubs. So we have them in all different sizes and colors. And I reached out to them yesterday because we have a guest that just started a new job needing scrubs, and they came through at the last second for me. So we're very thankful for our partners, because without them, we know we couldn't do it. There's not enough funding available.
And then also with the transitional house program, we may have somebody that's moving, and a donor calls, say, hey, I got a love seat, I got a bed, I got a mattress, you know, do you guys, which you are in need? Absolutely. And so we do, I mean, we get calls all the time regarding furniture delivery, because again, when those guests come out of shelter, they normally don't have anything, you know, and so we partnership with the churches too as well. We have one specific church that does transitional housing baskets for us.
Wow.
So inside that basket, you might have cleaning products. They do a nice little kitchen set with the gloves and things, just the small things that we kind of don't think about on our daily, you know, our daily living. And
stuff
so
that we can go seemingly just pick up and
just go pick up. And I mean, they're appreciative for anything, because like I said, normally it's just them or them and the children and what they came into the shelter with, or what we provided them with, those families with. So definitely partnership is a big key to it, and relying on, leaning on the community and partnerships.
So again, and like I say, we can talk about some of the entities and things of that nature that kind of do that. How do individuals, or how can individuals kind of sow more into that goes beyond the financial? I could think of a number of ways that you already kind of mentioned, but.
So we are always open to donations and volunteers. We love our volunteers. We have a board we call them the Peacekeepers, or the PKs. They come in and they volunteer, and they do all kinds of things around the shelter for the kiddos. We have a Halloween party coming up that they're going to be hosting, as well as one of the sororities is going to be hosting a secondary Halloween party. We also, any and all donations and volunteers, we ask to reach out to Megan McBroom.
Okay.
I have her contact information available as well. But she is the person to contact because she will know exactly what we're needing, how much we're needing, and if you've got a big group of people that wants to come in, like a church group or just somebody coming in to volunteer and just give back a little bit, we can always find something for them to do.
Yeah. And so I've always known Women and Children First to be this gym that's in the city, a really kind of hidden gym in the city that if you don't pay attention and don't know where it is, you miss it day in and day out. But I know you all are opening up a new center, and I guess what's been surprising to me is the freedom of the availability to know where it is. And so let's talk about that and what's going to be held there.
So the Forest of Hope Family Peace Center is what it is. Opened up mid-spring of 26. We're very excited about it. Not only because of, again, like you said, we have been where, because of confidential, the location of the shelter is never released. Well, now we know, everybody is going to know where we are. However, the shelter side does sit along with the Family Peace, but it kind of, we still have our,
we have confidentiality as to what happens on our property and in the building.
right.
And
So we're
I
still
could imagine there's some strong security measures in place.
Yeah, it's definitely,
that allows you to
be
still
in
do that.
place. Yeah.
Yes, Miss Angela and Miss Lakeese and the board and the Voices Committee were very, very particular and trauma informed about the choices and decisions, down to and including the decor and the color schemes, because we don't want anything that's going to be loud and frightening to anyone. So we're just trying to be neutral and respectful.
You don't want them to be re-triggered.
Exactly.
Not
That's
for
perfect.
those that are staying there or those that are coming in to receive services.
Absolutely.
Right, and which was separation. So the Family Peace Center will actually be like the front end, but the shelter, like you couldn't come into the Family Peace and enter to the shelter.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it'll be two separate. Yeah, but the services is wrap around for everyone.
Okay. And what type of services are we talking about?
So we have the sexual assault program, and we will have an actual full-blown medical suite at the Family Peace Center with 2 exam rooms, one for children and one for adults. We are trying to get partnerships with ambulatory services to be able to have victims come directly to us, so they're not having to even go to the hospital.
Okay.
So that's a big partnership that we're working on, or trying to at least. We also have counseling services, bilingual services, transitional housing services, the children's services, the Camp Hope, and the court advocacy. That's all that the Women and Children First is going to be bringing to the table. Now, outside agencies, we're going to have DHS. We're going to have, I think we're still waiting to hear back about Social Security Office.
A lot of partnerships and MOUs are still being signed and reviewed. So it's not. We just know we have about 88 agencies who are willing to be a part of this.
And that way they're on the grounds, and like you say, these people are not having to travel outside of there if not necessary.
Right.
To
One
get some
stop
of the
shop.
services that they need.
Right.
One stop shop.
And the good thing about being off a daily drive in Southwest Little Rock, I mean, you have to think about is the grocery stores, you have the hair stores, you got, again, the Department of Human Services, you have the post office, you have the WIC office. And so all the necessities that normally the guests, when they come in the shelter, they have to get on public transportation and go here and there so far away. And again, when they're fleeing, some of them are out of state. So they know nothing about Arkansas. And so this, where the Forest of Hope is, it just brings everybody together. And it's like, again, Angie said, like a one-stop shop. So we can all just be able to get those services and render those services right then at that
Well,
moment.
you have potentially 88. I don't know how much room there is for more.
Always room for more. Always room for more.
But how would people go about, or organizations or entities go about finding out if they have something that's necessary for you all, or or other considerations that y'all are considering?
I would get in touch with Megan McBroom,
Okay.
and you can get her by email at mwcbroom@wcfarkansas.org, or her phone number is 501-349-8547.
What have we not covered?
We haven't covered that it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
It is.
It is Purple Thursday, so everybody at WCF is decked out in purple in honor of our survivors of domestic violence.
Yeah. Wow. And seeing that October is that month for that, stats and data wise, how many would we say just in Arkansas alone
So,
are more than likely affected by domestic violence, to you all's knowledge?
so I actually pulled this number before coming, and this is according to the Arkansas Coalition Against Domestic Violence. In 2024, we had 42 intimate partner
Wow.
deaths. 22 were female, 16 were male, and 8 were children. That's I after reading that, I couldn't even go any further
Right.
because it's the kids.
Yeah.
It's the kids. It touches our souls in a much different area whenever we lose a victim to domestic violence. But whenever it's a child, it's so sad.
Yeah. That's always the sad part. I mean, you lose anyone to any sense of violence, it's sad.
Yeah.
But especially when you're talking about the kids. I think most oftentimes when we think about domestic violence, to me, you brought up something that I don't think we often think about, is we think about the women, but we don't think about men.
Mm-hmm.
And so how you all services kind of catered to them, or how you all been able to kind of service that population in that space currently? But you all deal with women and children, and so, but I could assume that hotline sometimes gets some of those other things.
Oh, yes. We get male victims from time to time that come into shelter, and it's a different vibe. You kind of have to switch gears a little bit, but all in all, what you're doing for one victim, you're doing for all victims. There may be some specifics and technicalities that are different, but as far as the initial services, they're all the exact same. So it doesn't matter if it's a woman that's walking in or a male that's walking in, or if it's someone that doesn't conform to those two sexes and genders, then we step right in and we try to be as respectful and ask them what they prefer to go by. We've got several in shelter that go by nicknames, and it's like, I have no idea who you're talking about. I need an actual name, because we ask them what they would like to be called and go by. So whenever we hear a different name, it's kind of like, who?
Yeah.
And also because a lot of people do, when they hear women and children first, they only think of women.
Yeah.
Which our mission statement had actually changed.
Okay.
It's now safety, strength, and hope for all domestic violence victims. So now it kind of lets everybody be aware of, it's just not for women. You know, it is for anyone in the community that is fleeing from domestic violence. It's important when we do have male victims that do want to come in shelter, that we just educate both parties, you know, to understand, because it might be triggering for one or the other. And so it's just about the education part of it, which it pretty does well in the home. And also outreach services. You know, again, you don't have to necessarily want to come in shelter to be able to utilize our transitional housing program. It's great. It's a great opportunity when they do transition out, but also, like you said, the ones who are experiencing it right then at that moment, being able to utilize those resources and services through the program. So I really enjoy it. It's a passion, you know. Not one that you will love, you know, but you know, it's
not the issue. At least,
but it's amazing once they do come out of shelter and they transition to their new home. It's just, here's the beginning, you know, here's another chance, here's life, and then you kind of go from being that victim
Yeah.
to becoming that survivor.
Wow.
And then you have a month down the line, reach back out and say, hey, I want to tell my story, or hey, how can I show my appreciation? And and then we'll get the voice committee that we have, that those who have been impacted through domestic violence, that want to be a part of it and want to share and help someone else.
So there's a number, you all have mentioned a number of different ways for people to be engaged and involved. Why should people be engaged and involved in this work?
This is a societal problem. It's not a behind closed doors problem. Statistically speaking, 40% of women and 34% of men in the state of Arkansas will experience domestic violence in their lifetime. That's atrocious.
Yeah.
It really is. And we're trying to really, the awareness months are really trying to just key in on bystander awareness and bystander intervention, because if you see something, you say something, you can stop somebody from potentially getting hurt, if not killed. If it is safe for you to do so, not just saying go out there and jump in, but if it's safe for you to intervene, then please intervene, because it's just ridiculous how high the number is.
And I'm with Angie. It's everyone knows someone.
Yeah.
That's the answer. Providing the education part of it. The awareness, just for the month, isn't enough. We see it, God, every time we turn on the TV. Domestic doesn't necessarily have to be physical. It could be mental. It could be psychological. It could be emotional. It could be financial. Abuse is abuse. So being able to educate everyone on what that looks like, being able to understand law enforcement. Being able to call safety planning. With some of the victims.
Yeah.
So it's not so much of why, it's just it should. We should do it. You should want to, because everyone knows someone that has been impacted by it. And so we just encourage, like Andrew said, you see something, say something, even if you just report it to law enforcement. But also, just be safe.
Last question. And I'm sensitive because of the subject, but why this work for you? Why not something else? And this is for both of you. Why this particular work?
Mine is giving back. I am a survivor of child abuse, and I want to give back. I have been in abusive relationships through my teenage years and adult years, and over the last 9 years, I have finally found a partner who is a partner. He is a supportive person, and he believes in me, and I finally got to a point where I felt good and safe, and I wanted to make a difference and make a change.
So for me, I've been with the agency for 8 years, and I am a survivor of domestic violence. However, that is not why I came. Actually, when I started back in September of 2017, I really didn't realize what I was getting into. I've been in social services for about 22 years. So it's just always been, for me, helping those who are in need. I just felt like that was my calling. And so when I came to be a part of the Women and Children First, it just connected, being able to assist those in need. Now, it took maybe a couple of months into the field when we had a guest come in, and her eyes, the left side of her face was completely battered, for me to really realize where I was. But that just made me be more passionate. However, due to the experience that I had to be able to set healthy boundaries as well. So for me, it's just being able to help someone that's in need, regardless of what situation they are in. Just giving back.
So if somebody needs the services, how do they contact you all and the agency overall? Contact information, all that stuff.
So we have the hotline number, which is 1-800-332-4443, or you can call locally at 501-376-3219, and that hotline advocate will obtain your information and kind of give you the resources, or if you needed to directly speak to an advocate at that time, or the court advocate, we are able to provide you resources for that. And even if the shelter at the time is at capacity because you're needing to come in, we provide resources for other agencies and shelters within the area or just within the state that may be able to help you to get out of that situation. But we always encourage, if you're fleeing and you're in immediate danger, always call 911 first.
Yeah.
And then once you get in a safe place, then be able to reach us.
Awesome. Any final words?
It's been wonderful being here with you today, Anthony, and it's been great talking about October and Domestic Violence Awareness Month and what the Family Peace Center will be capable of. And once we get in, we're just so ready and so so ready.
Well, thank y'all for being with us today. This is Get Connected AR podcast. Again, we just want to highlight those agencies, resources for you to get connected to get the services and help that not only maybe you need, but somebody that you know. And Women and Children First is doing that. They have a new center coming in spring of 26, and we want you to go take part of that.
Absolutely.
Until next time, y'all be blessed.